Good morning. Good morning. I am back in the UK. Here I am coming to you live from my bedroom once again here in Preston. How are you doing? Welcome to the show at Rise Up Show with me, your host. I am the Queen Bee, Dani Wallace, and it is a pleasure to see you all this bright and Scotcho Monday morning. I've had a look outside the window and it is beautiful out there. How are you all doing? Who is first past the post this morning? It's Lisa Jane. Good morning. Lisa Jane is in the house. So we are Scorchio in Preston. So there we are, repping on the weatherboard. How are we doing? Let me know in the comments. If you are new to the show, let us know. If you're new, let us welcome you in. If you are, of course, one of our usual suspects, hello, you cheeky sausages. How are you doing? Bavna Radio, good morning, my angel. Good morning to our sassy Joanne Smith. Love and Monday hugs to you. Well, you guys, what a weekend. It has been mental in that. So for the book cover, some of you may know, so the book's coming out. We're still on track. As long as we get everything done this week, we are still on track for the 28th of October launch. I have the photo shoot for the book cover tomorrow, which explains this. I am not in the middle of a hair dilemma. I'm in the middle of a bleaching process. So please, just forgive the situation that's happening up here. So I'm going grey hair, remember, and I'm going grey hair. And I went to a colorist a few weeks ago. And the grey that they put through for me was too dark. And also they went across the front. This bit is grey. It's not grey at all. So I'm grey here and I'm grey here. So you can see it's gone really white blonde. So what I've done is I've bleached these bits. I've darkened these bits, and I'm just going to put a silver grey toner on these so that I get the badger stripes that I want, because that's what I wanted. So when I have my hair done in the kind of vintage style tomorrow, and I have my super crown on, and I have my gorgeous dress from Amy Bridal Boutique, and I have my throne, and I have the yellow backdrop, it's going to look the shizzle. Well, I hope it's going to look the shizzle. Otherwise, it's going to be... I'll just ask him to Photoshop the dark back in my hair. Anything can happen, but that's what's happening. If anyone's concerned about my hair, don't be. Everything's fine. When I first started singing and working for myself, what I did was... I had red here and red here, and that's what I had for years, and that was kind of my signature hairstyle. And I kind of wanted to get that back, but with the grey, and embrace the grey. So I feel like I'm getting more towards the kind of the finished hair look, certainly for the time being. So I'm dead excited about that. We missed a little bit of bleach yesterday. So what have you guys been up to? What is the weather doing where you are? It's foggy here in Rainham in Kent, but the sun is due out soon. Shall I just put a preemptive Scorchio for Kent? I'm going to put a preemptive Scorchio. We'll be optimistic about the sun in the Kent area. It's sunny in Southampton. Paul Newton, friend of the show, he was on our show just a few short weeks ago, showing us all kind of magic, showing us all kinds of internet security, cyber security, and playing all of the mind games with us. He was absolutely fabulous. Govinda, good morning, my angel. Loved my recent adventures. Yeah, so we did the 1-to-1 in Italy. That was amazing. It was everything that I wanted it to be. It was when people work with me 1-to-1, I want to make sure that they're having a great experience. And what we did is we had this really great mix of experiences and really, really good, intensive work, making sure that Claire got everything that she possibly needed ready for me to support her for the next 6 months. So that would be the next step for Claire, is now that we will put time in to create all of the assets that she needs to then get her booked in different places, which is super, super, super exciting. I'm really excited for her journey and her adventures and our adventures together. I did a live yesterday. Did anybody see it? I had a realization. Excuse me. I had a realization yesterday. And it's been a bit of a funny one in that over the last 6 months, I've had a whole sort of new sort of wedge of audience come to me, like through the Big Festoon and through you guys recommending the show, and lots of new people come to me all the time. And somebody said to me, a number of people said to me, because I've been sharing in the last week, you'll have seen how much I miss singing. And singing before COVID was, I had 2 main businesses. Obviously, there's the public speaking, but also my singing business. And my singing business I've had for 8 years. I mean, I've been singing since I was 7 and traveled abroad and all over the world with it, worked in corporate, came back out to work for myself singing. And that's how I'd supported me and my family for the past 7 or 8 years. Now, a number of people, upon sharing some videos of me singing, saying how much I missed it, was like, God, we didn't know you sang. And I'm like, what? How can you not know that I sing? How can you not know that this is something that I do? Like, it's a part of my events when I do my events. And I just realized that I've not been talking about it. I've not been talking about the things that I do. So yes, of course I've been talking about public speaking, because this is, in my mind, the place where I do it, right? In the online space. But because my singing business was very much an IRL or an in real life business, not that this is a fake business, but you know what I mean? Like, we do it in real life, and the speaking I've had to do online for the past 6 months. So that's just been ticking along. The new people coming to me weren't finding out about me singing and didn't know that they could book me for things for, say, next year. Or they was like, whoa, we didn't know. And it's an absolute testament to all of the work that we do in here. When we talk about closed mouths don't get fed, my mouth was closed about my singing business. So it's no surprise that, no one's kind of getting to grips with it. No one's like understanding that that's what it is that I do, or that's what it even is that's a part of my business. So it was a really timely reminder, given that we've got the challenge coming up next week, the Be Heard So You Want to Be a Speaker challenge. It was a very, very timely reminder that now more than ever, you need to be speaking about all of the things that you do, all of your goods and your services, all of the things that you've got planned. Because if you don't speak about one of them for any amount of time, people really quickly forget, really quickly. I'm thinking that's like 8 years of work. 8 years of work. And then all of a sudden, people aren't shut, apart from those people that have followed me, my existing audience. But even then, very, very quickly, people start to forget and tag other people in, or, oh, you're not singing anymore, Dani. And it was such an eye-opener that speaking about what it is that you do and what it is that you want to do is so, so, so important, especially now. Yes, there was a question. Yes, Karen, there was a question in GSD yesterday about being a singer. Lots of people in GSD, which is Lisa Johnson's Get Shit Done Society, her membership. But there was a couple of other things as well that happened over the course of yesterday, where people were asking for singers, or people were tagging other people as singers, and no one does. And I'm cool with not being tagged. But it was very interesting to see people come to me and go, we didn't know you as a singer, Dani. And I find that, like, my little mind were blown. But it was a beautiful and timely reminder that we need to be speaking about what we do in its entirety online. So I am helping you do that next week. It's a week today. We start the challenge. If you are not signed up, ticking along the bottom is how you sign up, and you will need to be on the doors to the group that's going to open up on Friday. So that's the Be Heard Challenge September 2020. That is the name of the group that you are going to need to be a part of. So if you were in the Hive already, the IATQB Hive, that's brilliant, but you are going to need to be knocking on the doors of that group, the Be Heard So You Want to Be a Speaker Challenge 2020 group, ready for us kicking off a week on Monday. So there are going to be some announcements this week from the government. We don't know what they're going to be. What I do know is the last time that there were those kinds of announcements, we did this challenge, and it was really, 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 really helpful to so many of these. Even if you've done the challenge before, people come back and they come and do it again because they're further along in the journey, so they can apply different things. We're doing things a little bit differently this time. We're going to be talking about podcasting. We're going to be talking about interviewing and all that sort of stuff. So there's going to be lots of new things being put into the challenge next week. If you are not signed up to it, you need to be. It's ticking along the bottom. All right, enough of that. Enough of this, enough of me. It's not about me this morning, is it? It is about you guys. And of course, it is about our guest. So she's going to be joining us this morning talking about our superpowers, which I am here for. Ow, I just hurt my nail. I just hit the microphone like this in my excitement. Good morning, Dean Badgewell from Opulence Events and the Well-Heeled Coach. How are you? It is lovely to see so many of you joining us this morning with your Friday motivation. Just before we bring our guest on, what I want to know in the comments is what is going to make this week a win for you. We're going to share them with each other. We're going to share them with the incredible Cynthia Micallef, who's going to be joining us just now. Good morning, Cynthia.
Morning. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning. Who is joining us from Ibiza this morning?
Yeah, the sun is getting like higher, and I'm like,
she's just like started to squid. Like outdoors was a really great idea half an hour ago when it was still like a comfortable light. But Cynthia, we're living vicariously through you this morning with your sunny bee up there underneath the compass. How are you, my darling?
I'm very, very well, thank you. And I'm going to join the challenge. I'm going to join your challenge. I love it.
Yes. Come and join the challenge.
Yeah. I'm going to do it.
One of the cool things about this is it doesn't matter if you're brand new or it doesn't matter if you're a bit further along. There's something for everybody, which I'm dead excited about. So come and play with us. It's very exciting. Yeah. But it is not about I this morning. It is definitely about you. Cynthia, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
Okay, so I'm an online business mentor. So I help people, women, especially women, start an online business or taking their offline business into online.
Right.
So this is what I've been doing in the past 6 months, I would say. Yeah. So I've had businesses all along. I've been having businesses for the last 20 years. So this is how I can do it. So I've been in corporate when I was I lived in London. So I'm from Malta, by the way.
Right.
When I was
like we're proper international situation happening this morning. I love it.
So I'm from island to island. So I spent from Malta, then I went to London when I was 22 or something like that, and spent 20 years in London. And then I came to Ibiza 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And in London, I was working in corporate, in bank, finance, I was an accountant, all of that stuff. Yeah. But it was always like really frustrating for me. Like I never could fulfill. I was never fulfilled, Yeah. I used to, have a little cry in the toilet. Like,
oh God, I feel you, same. Same. Like it can be soul destroying, and I'm trying to be careful when I talk about sort of being in employment and working in corporate, because it does work for so many people out there, and lots of businesses would grind to a halt if we didn't have a whole workforce out there. But the entrepreneur inside me, the person that didn't want to work for somebody else, the person that was hitting the glass ceiling, it was hard. It was hard work to not have the freedom or the flexibility that I have now, right?
Exactly. It's kind of the thing, that you are inside the office. Like I'm very good at being inside all the time. So that's like the physicality of it. But the thing that like you can't be an independent thinker, you just have to follow the things that they tell you. And, every year the boss, like the meetings, anyway.
Oh, and the meetings about meetings, or can I have a word? That was the worst, because you knew you were in trouble. Can I just have a quick word with you in here? Yeah, all right. Then they bring out a performance improvement plan. Brilliant.
Yes, and the thing that this for me is like, where do you want to be in 5 years time? And I used to be like, God, I really don't want to be like you.
Yeah. And also, 5 years ago, would you have said in 5 years' time, I want to be running a business from lockdown? Would you have said it in 5 years' time? Well, we're going to have a global pandemic in 5 years' time. I'm going to be fighting my way through that like She-Ra.
So when I was in corporate, I always had like my things going on. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I started cooking I was really into food. Food was one of my passions before kids, I must say. No, I have to do it. I don't like it so much.
I know, it's when you've got to, isn't it? It's when food is play, it's brilliant.
Exactly. So I started cooking Maltese food and going to sell them into markets. So I did my Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday I'm selling in Brick Lane, and then I got some other market stores as well. And then I left, so I was working in contract work because after I did my permanent job, I said, okay, I'm going to leave. I'm just going to work contract work. Traveled. When I came back, okay, let's start up this artisanal food thing going on. And it was a lot of fun, like so much fun, but hard work, right?
It's like hard work. In the early mornings, especially if you're cooking, then it's late nights when you're cooking and early mornings for the markets, right?
Everything. And in the snow, going and staying there in the snow and all of this.
In the rain when no one turns
up. Yes. And when you cook everything, like I used to have like these Maltese pastries. And if they don't sell, like you just have to throw everything away. But I would not change it. Like the banter you have with people, and the Maltese people that were coming to my store, which I've never met in London before, of course. So I loved it. And I think just being there in a face-to-face with people, it really teaches you like a lot, So so I loved it. So I was always doing this, and then I start up, I think of another project and and then go back to corporate because that's where the money was, and am I going to leave all my accountancy and studies all behind and all of this, And then I decided, so this is one of my last projects. I opened a yoga studio in London because basically then I really was into yoga for like 10 years. Like yoga was my whole life, everything. My holidays, our friends, the weekends, like we became obsessed about it.
You do though, because it makes you feel so good. Like, how can you not?
Yes, it does, quote unquote, ruin your life. You're like, oh my God, I can't have that glass of wine on a Friday night because on Saturday morning.
There's some pleasure pain thing going on with it.
So the social life, just like, there was an article once that someone said, yeah, yoga does ruin your life. But anyway.
Brilliant.
And then I decided to have this brilliant idea. I'm going to open a yoga studio. So I found this place in Canary Wharf, just outside. I shouldn't say it's Canary Wharf, just outside, like literally there. So we refurbished this whole place. It was like a big warehouse, like beautiful. Like we've done it so beautifully. Anyway, but then I also became pregnant, and I opened. So basically, throughout my pregnancy with my first son, with Isaac, I was doing up this yoga space, and I opened. So we opened on Wednesday, and my son was born on Saturday, which is like, it was unbelievably crazy.
You're not doing things by halves here, Cynthia.
No, I don't. I'm like,
you're in good company.
So I did that, and we lived in West London. This was east, of course. I was like constantly on the tube, going and coming. It was an amazing experience, like really good experience. But it was self-financing. We were financing it all, and as you know, rents in London and all of this. And basically, we closed it after about 10 months, which was really hard because I had 2 babies born at the same time. And then, we had to let one of them go, of course. So I've learned my business lessons from losing like shitloads of money, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the strongest among us are those that have experienced, in their mind at the time would call it failure, but you're either winning or you're learning. So when you've had an experience like that, that is where you do your biggest learns. That's where you have your biggest reflections, isn't it?
Yes, totally. So, one of the things I totally learned that like a buildings, business is not for me because I like change. I like moving. I want to be free where I want to live. So I learned it the hard way.
Right. Bricks and mortar are not for the faint-hearted.
Oh my God, no, especially in a city, right?
Right.
So, but I've learned so much more stuff like from that, like I didn't do proper marketing. I didn't have a mentor at the time. I was just doing it myself.
Yeah.
that I learned so much.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we moved to, and then after all of this, I'm like, okay, just break. And then all I did was like creative projects.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I was just doing like a photo, like this is the one thing I want to get up actually at some point. It was called Global Women's Voices. And basically also, again, I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was stopping women in London and just photographing them and asking them questions. And then
Oh,
putting
that
them
sounds
on a
like my
piece of
kind of
paper.
project. I
Yes,
love that.
yes. It was so cool. I loved it. Like really loved it. Um, and in fact, I was really shy about it. So like none of my Facebook friends knew about it. I was like, I'm not a photographer. Who am I to do this?
Oh no.
Yeah.
You get the best with it, with that kind of untrainedness. Sometimes I think you get the purest. You get the purest capturing because you just taking it as you see it. Nothing's kind of set up because you don't really know how to.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it was just like purely for creative purposes, like nothing
Yeah.
to do with money. And I needed that after
Yeah.
the yoga studio. I needed that creativity flow to
Yes.
come back.
Yeah.
And then, for example, I started a health food blog as well, and things like that. Anyway, then we came to Ibiza.
Mm-hmm.
We decided to come here when my daughter was 1 month. Again, another crazy thing to do. And and then I started doing hosting yoga retreats.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for the last 4 years as well. And of course, in the pandemic, things had to stop. And
Bloody
and this is
COVID.
yeah. This is something I'm continuing, but I really love. It's like a passion project.
Yes.
Doing the yoga retreats. But even though as you probably know, right? Even though like the delivery is one-to-one, not one-to-one, is live,
Yeah.
in person, but we find the people, the customers online.
Yes.
So I've really learned how to do an online business through the yoga retreats as well.
Yeah, makes a whole heap of sense.
Yes, exactly. So now, and then in the pandemic, I did the Race to Recurring Revenue challenge, and
So
this is
just
where
for
it all
anyone
came
listening
to.
out there, the Race to Recurring Revenue is one of Lisa. We talk about Lisa Johnson on here regularly. I mean, because a lot of our guests are members of, the Get Shit Done Society, or have been through, we live in the online space, and Lisa's very prominent in the online space. And actually, her Race to Recurring Revenue is a challenge that helps people do that thing, like get recurring revenue, so they're not kind of scrabbling around month on month, right?
Yeah. But what it did for me is, like the first one was like come up with creative ideas. So obviously the first two were about my yoga. I was like, okay, I'm going to take my yoga business,
Makes
because that's what
sense.
I did in the pandemic. I was a bit like you, showing up online every day.
Yeah.
I was like putting on, my yoga clothes, a bit of lipstick, and I was doing yoga classes every single day.
Yeah.
And also, my first two ideas were about yoga, of course, and my third one was like, oh, I'm going to just teach people how to go live.
Right.
And Lisa, that's the one she liked. I was like, what? That was like my fun. Let's have fun with this kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's what people need.
Yeah, exactly. And basically, I ran with it. It took me a long time to, oh, who am I to do this? Am I good enough? Do I know enough? But as you probably realize, like, we realized how much we know. When I started helping people to go online in the pandemic, I was like, oh, I do. Like, where did I learn all this stuff?
Right. And this is the thing, that whenever we are entering the fray, whenever we are kind of sitting on the spike and saying, actually, this is an area of my expertise, it's very easy to forget just how much you know about a topic. When I first sat down and I was like, actually, I need to do something other than singing in order to maintain the sustainability for my family, for my bills. I don't want to be carrying my PA and sound equipment up and down the motorway all the time. And I was like, what do I know the most about? Well, I know the most about speaking and presenting because that's what I used to do. And I forget how much I know. So when people come to me, they go, whoa, we didn't think about that. And you think, how can you not know about it? Or it comes so naturally, and those things come so naturally to you, Cynthia, that when you're sharing, you just doing it from a place of ease, and everybody else around you is going, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you kind of don't realize it. It's like, oh, I've learned a lot, but
Yeah.
so it's been a good journey. It's been a good journey. And like for me, it's like the start of a project. That's when I'm really excited. So I just have to run with it. So, in the last few months, I built the group to 500 and a bit more. So, yeah, and this week is my first challenge. I'm really excited.
I'm excited. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your group, and tell us a little bit more about the challenge, and tell us a little bit more about what it is that you're doing, because superpowers are a thing, right?
Yes.
Talk to me about superpowers.
Yeah, so I do talk about superpowers a lot, because for me, that's when it changed. Like, it's when things change. So when someone used to tell me, okay, what's your strengths? I'm like, yeah, creativity, But like superpowers, I was like, oh, yeah, that's what it is. So basically, superpower is like something that we've always been doing since you were young, like, and you don't maybe realize it.
Yeah.
And it's something that you inspire people without trying. So, for example, for you, Dani, is probably like, I don't know, extroversion, and like inspire them with speaking. I don't know. Would you know what your superpowers are? Like something that you show to the world, and something you show to the world, but you multiply it by 100, so you become bigger, larger than life character, kind of thing.
Just a little bit. That's a little bit about what I do.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel that.
Yes, and so for example, my superpower is being brave and an action taker, and this is how I inspire people. It's like since I was young, without me knowing. So I'm a real action taker. Like there's a project, I start like literally the next day.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard that in all of your adventures. Like all of your adventures so far, we could you can see that is definitely, and being an action taker is for a lot of people out there is a scary thing to do. It's a scary thing to actually take the step, and then the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step, because your fear can often get in the way. So the fact that you're leading with this courage and this action taking, and that's how you're leading your audience, I just think, of course, you're inspired. Look at all the things that you've achieved by taking the action.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the only thing now I always say is, because sometimes I did take action too quickly. Now I'm like, okay,
take measured action. Let's have a think about the action and still take it.
So that I don't lose a lot of money again.
So you've got this, so you've got all of that learning from taking all of that action, but also you've got the learning from what happens if you don't sort of mitigate risk, I guess. And it's getting that fine balance into being brave, stepping forward, and also actually having a little pause and a check-in along the way to make sure that everything is safe and that all your ducks are in a row. I guess that with age as well, that comes a little bit easier. You've made kind of mistakes. Age of kids.
Exactly. Makes you a little bit more okay. But also what I wanted to say is, like, the superpower doesn't have to be something like really like outwardly. It could also be, so for example, I was talking to someone I was helping, and she's like, I don't know what it is. She's like, I'm like really kind of, I love the detail. I don't look like myself going live, and I'm quite kind of quote unquote nerdy. And I'm like, that's fantastic. That's what
perfect attributes.
Even more. And obviously her subject was also very detailed. And then like her face literally lit up when I told her, you put your analytical brain out there even more and multiply that by 100 and show your people, your community, that's what you need to bring out. She's like, can I really do that? Like, don't I have to be like,
yes, do that.
So this is how powerful it is when I talk about like the superpowers, because it's like, wow, like I can really build myself. And this is what I always talk about. Like, there's no point building a business, which is like every other, right? So we have to build a business our own way. And this is how we're going to differentiate ourselves. So, there's so many business coaches, speaker, everything, right? Like fitness,
absolutely.
Everything. So how do people come to us? Just because we're ourselves, like, so that's
because there's no new news, is there? There's no new news. Not everybody, most people, when it comes to coaching or business, when it comes to branding, when it comes to marketing, there's nothing brand new that's happening out there. It's just that you guys out there will find the people that you gravitate towards, who you wish to learn from. And you can only magnetize those people if you are turning up as best you can as yourself and turn that dial up on yourself. It is the you bit that becomes magnetic, because if there's no new news, then you've just got to make sure that you're the ripest, juiciest peach for all the peach lovers out there.
Exactly. Yeah, I love the way you said it. And I really see you, for example, as doing that. With like the tattoos, your hair, the makeup, like you're really stepping into your character. And whatever character it is, that's what we need to do. That's how we need to come out. And it might take a while. So, I have to admit, sometimes I'm like, oh, where is my uniqueness? I'm not really sure yet. It might take a while, and that's okay. But the most important thing is that we do it. We start it. And then we figure it out. And then we start finding our voice, start finding what we're, what people are gravitating towards us for, because I know that sometimes it can be hard to really dig into our superpowers. What are they? I don't really know what they are, but, and one of the good things is also to maybe ask your friends, how do you see me as? What do you look up to me for? Or something like that, So
because getting that feedback from the outside is actually important, because it's a gauge of how you're showing up right now. So I talk to people about showing up, wising up, and rising up as a circle, as a cycle of continual improvement. And sometimes getting that external feedback doesn't mean that that's the way that you've always got to be. But if you get that feedback with regards to how people perceive you to show up, you get to tweak it. Because if they come back and say that you're quiet, or that you're loud, or that you're funny, or that you're, I don't know, that you're serious, and you're not actually, you don't feel like those things resonate with you. You don't feel like that actually that feedback sits within who you really truly feel you are. That's going to mean that you're not showing up as your whole and your best self. So even if you get the answers to that and you don't feel like that's resonating with you, it gives you a really good litmus test with regards to how you're showing up, and you get to tweak it accordingly. So then if that doesn't resonate, how do you show up? How does that person in your mind, your best self, how do they show up? And it's really, really powerful to get that external feedback sometimes. You've got to be tough to be able to hear it, though.
Yes, you do. Because it's not always what you want, as you said. It's not always what you want. But then you have to check with yourself, you're like, okay, what am I doing? And things like that. But I really think it's maybe when we were young, when we're young, we don't lie, of course, when we're younger, we don't lie. So that would be a good indication, because these things don't change. Don't really change. Absolutely. And then also we choose what superpowers we want to show to the world. So, and that's why we have to be intentional about it. So we choose our character. This is how I want to portray myself to the world. So for example, I always say to myself, I'm brave, I'm adventurous, and I'm an action taker. So this is what I want to portray, and I'm an independent thinker. So if people had the same experience as me, so for example, going from corporate to leaving corporate, but not only that, in terms of traveling and moving country twice, that kind of thing, people are really going to have the same, I've done that, or, oh, I would like to do that, so they will gravitate towards kind of what we've done. So, that's why I love it so much.
And you know what? I love that you love it so much, because I think that having people out there that bring this out of us as a wider community is super, super important. Again, as we are the potential is, if we're in the entrepreneurial space, to get lost as it gets noisier. So if you are really solid in yourself and how you're showing up, then you do become this magnet as long as you stay solid in it. And I'm interested, for those people that are watching out there, I want to know what your superpowers are. I want you to tell me and Cynthia what your superpowers are. What is it about you that's watching out there this morning or on the catch up? What are your superpowers? What makes you absolutely you, and what makes you the ripest, juiciest peach for all the peach lovers out there? I want you to tell us. We're going to shout you out. So, Cynthia, tell us, whilst everybody's telling us what their superpowers are, tell us a little bit more about this challenge, because it starts today.
Yay! So yeah, I start today. It's a 4-day challenge, but I'm giving loads of time to complete it because I know everyone is busy.
Yeah.
And it's all about getting clients with confidence. And basically, I'm really stressing the confidence bit.
Yeah.
So we are working on our goals, visualizing our goals, and surprise, surprise, we're working on our superpowers.
Yes.
And our characteristics. And then we're also working on the transformation we want to achieve for our clients, the impact we want to make. So, and then the Tuesday, the masterclass, what do we need to have a really successful and sustainable online business? So I teach business from an alignment point of view, and I put, my teachings from the yoga philosophy. I have to put in that yoga in somewhere.
Of course you do. Because that's about working in flow, isn't it? It's about working in tune with yourself and being present. And actually, when you're in business, if you're making any kind of pivot or, I just think, I don't know how you feel about this, Cynthia, but when you're working on your business, it's very easy to have lots of things going on, and actually being present and being focused is really necessary when you're making moves. It's like playing a game of chess, and you've got to plan your moves out. So then you've got to think, okay, how do I get focused? How do I get present so that I know that this decision that I'm going to make is going to be the right one? Because you're listening to yourself intuitively. And I think when you make those intuitive decisions, when you're listening to yourself and you encourage you to get present and get in the now and really make those decisions intuitively and listen to yourself, you make the best decisions. What do you think to that?
Totally. And so for me to pivot was actually not easy. Because I was showing up, I also had a yoga group. I was showing up nearly every single day doing yoga to them. And I'm like, I just going to let them down. Yoga has been so much part of my life for so long. So then I was like, okay, I need to just put them together. So, I came up with my Zen success framework. So basically how to build a business and keeping the Zen. And one of them, as you said, is focus. And I have to put that in. So basically, I love listening to yoga philosophy.
Yes.
YouTube videos. And
I'm here with you. Don't laugh about that. Like, I'm here for it.
Because some people will be like, oh my God, that's too woo. But it's not.
No, we're here for the woo. It's all right. We're all on the spectrum. It's fine.
But it's actually super, super practical. I'm actually a very practical person. If a woo doesn't have a practical, meaning, then it doesn't mean, there's plenty of woo here in Ibiza. So,
Right. I got it. I got you.
So
the woo is welcome.
I bring the yoga philosophy together to really focus. So the Zen success framework is all about focus, balance, and discipline, and being in alignment as well. So I love teaching that. It really comes from the heart. So also this is what I'm bringing in my program that I'm going to open the doors for next week as well. So I'm super excited about that.
Exciting. Oh, it's wonderful. Well, Cynthia, I have absolutely no doubt you were going to storm it. I am so excited to see your journey with this, and for anybody that's getting involved as well, to see your journey working with Cynthia during this challenge and beyond. How exciting. And I'm going to see you on Monday as a part of mine.
Yay.
So one of the things, and again, for all of you out there that are kind of watching on what's going to happen over the next few weeks, September is notoriously a time for launches, September, October. So you're going to see in the online space lots of people sharing with you lots of different things. I would strongly suggest for all of you, A, to get amongst what you're able, and B, don't ever be scared of doing things at the same time as other people, because everybody needs different things at different times. So there are going to be lots of people that are going to need you this week, Cynthia. Loads and loads of people are going to need you this week to get themselves in the right mindset to think, oh, well, particularly for the UK, I know you work internationally, but particularly for the UK right now, things are on tenterhooks again. We don't know what's going to happen. So for everybody out there to be thinking about what can we be doing online would be massively, massively helpful. So whenever anybody is doing things at the same time as you, then is the time to lock arms, because when you help each other, everybody does well. And it's the same in the online industry. When we all do well, we all do well. So Cynthia, I am so excited for your challenge. I am so excited to have you on mine. I've got nothing else to say other than you are absolutely a superhero, and I'm just absolutely thrilled for you.
Yeah, same here. I think you are a superhero.
Oh, it's a big love fest this Monday. It's a big love fest.
Let's start Monday with love, yeah.
We've got to start every day with the love. So Cynthia, would you do me a huge favor, and on the comments of this show today, pop how we can get involved, because it kicks off at 2:00 this afternoon UK time. So if you could pop us the details of how we can get involved with that and how we can go and explore our superpowers with you over this coming week, that would be absolutely fantastic. Of course, pop the links to your groups and all of that.
Cool. It's actually, it's 2:00 my time. It's 1:00 UK time. Yeah, it's
1:00 UK time. Sorry, my apologies. So 1:00 our time is when you can get amongst Cynthia's challenge. Please, Cynthia, pop the details of those of all that into the links on the comments of the show today. It has been a pleasure talking to you, my angel.
So nice. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really, really enjoyed it.
Good. I'm going to pop you in the backstage area. That is Cynthia Micallef, everybody, who is an absolute wonder. Isn't she fabulous? Honestly, I'm so grateful for every single one of our guests, and having such wonderful guests on every single day, sharing what it is that they do, ensuring certain hope, that it gets them out there a little bit more, but also it gives you access to all of these different ways of thinking. I just think that what a blessed position that we are in with this show to share with you all of that good stuff. So Karen, my superpower is analysis. I've always been accused of overanalyzing things, been told I speak a lot of sense and have a calming, positive influence. I've worked as a business analyst for over a decade. That's what I'm going to do. Yes, Karen, do you know what? You can get analysis paralysis. Of course you can. But there are 4 different types of people for the most part. And I know lots of you will argue this, and it's okay. It's cool. But when you do personality profiling, often people fall onto a quadrant, and you could put on different hats, but you tend to find that you get details-driven people, results-driven people, people-driven people, and ideas-driven people. And in businesses, you need to be able to put on all of those hats. So me, for example, can you guess? I'm an ideas-driven person and also a results-driven person, which gets me going where I'm going. But also putting the people hat on as I go along, making sure the people around me are looked after. Also, when I'm not strong enough in the details section, bringing in somebody with a details background, or having Wallace, who's incredibly details driven, to come and assist me. It's important having all of those things. Joe Smith, we know what your superpower is, my angel. My superpower, Joe Smith says, is my sassy positivity, being unapologetic for spreading the sass, lively, bold, full of spirit, and a little bit cheeky. That's our girl. Putting this into creative business development and branding. My tutu and my crown come as a bonus, and we would not have you any other way. Right, you guys, that is it for today. We've not moved the times of the show, but we will be making the show just a little bit shorter to account for the school run. So we'll be starting at 8:00 all this week, finishing at 1:45. Same again next week, and then we'll be looking at moving the start time. So it's just a lot of juggling to make sure that we fit everything in from an IATQB point of view. So it makes sense for us at the moment just to keep the time as it is. So we will be joining you 8:00 for the rest of this week. Tomorrow, we've got the gorgeous Joe Fisher is going to be joining us talking about business and law. So do come. It's going to be a really interesting conversation. We've got Nicole joining us on Wednesday Wednesday, Amy Hatch joining us, the Timeless Stylist, on Thursday, and Jessica Staniforth is going to be joining us for a little bit of sex talk on Friday. So we've got loads of things popping off this week, all interesting topics, all interesting things for us to bring to you. If you want to speak about what it is that you do, you need to be part of the Be Heard. So you want to be a speaker challenge. It kicks off a week today. We will be kicking off with Be Heard. So you want to be a speaker challenge. You're going to want to be a part of that, especially as everything is blowing off once again. I want to make sure that I have as many of you as possible in my world, making sure that you are talking about what it is you do. Closed mouths do not get fed. Right. I love you. Have an incredible day. Share with us your Monday wins. If you want to carry on the conversation, join us in the IATQB Hive. It stands for I am the Queen Bee. You are the Queen Bee too, or the King Bee, or the Royal Bee. We're an inclusive brand, and I will see you in the morning at 8 o'clock. I love you.